Hey again, everyone. Thank you for joining me for our continuation of a 6-year-long discussion about narcissism. There are a couple of topics that come up frequently, and I've talked about both of them, but they go together very well for what I want to discuss today. One of them is no contact, and the other is dealing with a narcissist in a family dynamic, especially if you have kids. So, first, let's talk about no contact. Sometimes you are not able to go no contact, and that is the pretty much the wide scope of what my channel has been about the whole time. If you could go no contact, just do. Just that would be the end of the video, the end of the channel, the end of the discussion of all of the channels on all the platforms. You just go no contact and go your own way. Just like when a couple of folks will come on here and say, well, what I did was I just went no contact. I'm like, yeah, if you can. Apparently you didn't watch the video that I put out before you put your comment up. If you can, do. This discussion isn't for those that can do that, right? So if you can, go ahead. Reasons why you can't go no contact. What if you are financially dependent on the narcissist? And nobody knows it's a narcissist when you get married, or you wouldn't do it, right? Or especially if you have kids. It just kind of happens a little gradually, a little over time until they get their hooks in your life, and then you can't get away, which is basically that's their MO anyway. Whether they plan it exactly that way or whether they play it by ear, it doesn't matter, but that's what happens. So if you are dealing with one that you're financially dependent on, you can't just, like I said, you can't just walk out into the street and just leave it. Or if you have a business deal with one, you're not just going to walk off from your investment, are you? There's thousands of ways that you might have to deal with a narcissist, and it's not always going to be no contact. You're taking a very narrow scope of the discussion and applying it to your own circumstances, which is actually what I found is that's really not that often that people can just do that, wipe their hands of something and go on their way. By far the worst is being married to one, especially when you get married to one and you end up having a family with one. It is the way that these narcopaths behave is very anti-family, and I'm going to tell you some things that are not really intuitive to you about how to deal with one. I'll just go back to I'll just go back to some personal examples. I obviously don't divulge any names or anything on here. I never will, because I wouldn't want to end up, in court over defamation or something. So we'll just continue. So anyway, so early on in the game of dealing with the game that the narcissist had laid out for me. And make no mistake, it is a game in that they know what they're doing. They're very aware of how they're handling the situation. People are like objects to them. People are an extension of the narcissist. It's a house or a car or a kid or a computer or a husband or a lawnmower. Everything is just for their use, because they're a god or goddesses in their own little minds. So you're not dealing with a person that's even wired up correctly. You'll never win, which is why take some of what I'll talk to you about today, some of the methods to deal with them, going gray rock, only discuss what you need to with them, and then finally, when you're done, and then you can wipe your hands of them and go no contact. In the middle of the initial divorce phase that I was dealing with, that monster that I was, and I always knew there was always something wrong. The final true colors don't show until they really think that they can body slam you. And that's usually once like I said, in my case, it was once I'd had kids with them. And it went on for years, but eventually it started to erupt because I wasn't taking it anymore. I'd done everything I could do. If you go back to the past videos, you see where I'd done everything, single thing, and listed it. And by the way, that's very accurate. There was, I didn't take a lot of artistic license with that. So I'd done everything that I could do, and things were about to go south, and I could tell. Well, dealing with them, again, it's like dealing with, they're simple-minded, like children almost. Don't let that description disarm you, because they do know what they're doing. Do only what the court says that you have to do. There were a lot of things that I thought that I had to do just because I thought I had to do it. What's some of the instances? One of them was I was being texted and called and emailed and voicemails 20, 30 times a day initially. And I had found someone else at this time. It's been about a year into it. And this person said, you need to remind her that you're divorced. And I thought that I had to answer everything. I thought that I had to be at everything. I thought that I had to be at every school function or church function. And eventually I realized that I didn't have to, and they were using these events to torture me. That's what it was for. The kids don't know. But this is where it gets counterintuitive. This is where if you realize using reverse psychology on a narcissist is very effective. During the divorce phase, I'm going to kind of digress a little bit, go back. During the divorce phase, it was, of course, back and forth over the house and some assets. There really wasn't that much. And finally, I got exasperated. We were in some court session, and it was outside, and I told my attorney, I said, just tell her she can have the house. And so we walked up to the other attorney and said, yeah, you can have the house. And then she shook her head no. She'd been fighting for the house the whole time. But when I didn't want it, suddenly she didn't want it. Okay. This is going to you need to pay attention to this, because this happens to be some of the psychology that I had to use for our kids. The other thing is, let me ask you this, on that note, if you have kids with a narcissist and you know they're a narcissist, are you just going to walk off and go no contact? Really? Really? Okay. Well, then you and I have a big disagreement there. I was going to fight tooth and nail, but I was going to do it very stealthily. If you go back again to some of the content that I made earlier, the one that I did earlier was the earliest one that I went and kept up. The delivery is terrible, and even the title is How to Win at Narcissism, but it's got like 350,000 views, so I'm going to keep it up. Later on, I guess about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, I did a 3-part of how to beat the narcissist at their own game. One way is to gray rock. Okay, you don't want to do anything more than what the court says. And if you're going to use the kids, and they're going to use the kids against you, there's some things that you got to do. How do I put this? There are some very wealthy families that have policy in place. This is absolute truth, that if one of their family members is kidnapped for ransom, they don't pay the ransom, period. Which makes that person basically worthless to a kidnapper. Okay, I can't tell you exactly who, but this is something that I've heard before. The narcissist effectively takes yours and their kids, it is both. For this conversation, we'll go and say yours. They take the kids as ransom, as hostage, to watch you dance at church, to watch you dance at school functions. Then they bring their boyfriend or girlfriend around with the kids, and they get to watch you take it down a notch or two. That's what they enjoy doing, the humiliation rituals that they enjoy doing to you. And they do it through the kids. If you didn't have any kids, it would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? But you don't. So you're going to have to play the game. And it's a long game, as I've mentioned before. When you act like you don't care, and it's going to be hard, I'm going to tell you right now, when you act like you don't care that much about the kids, the narcissist is going to loosen their grip. I ended up with custody of both. First one, and then the other. Okay? And the kids know too. The kids intuitively know that something's wrong. And eventually, when there's two households, they're going to see how your household acts, and they're going to see how her household acts, or the narcissist. Okay? They're going to finally figure it out. It may take some time, but in the end, you're going to have to fight the good fight by not playing the narcopath's game. Take their power away. There's a lot of power in that, a lot of power in having kids. I like the way the narcissist they'll behave one way in front of everyone else, and then you know what they're doing behind closed doors. You know how they behave. The kids know too. Obviously they're not that removed. Okay? So, my first thing to tell you, or really the only thing today, is don't act like you care too much. Okay, resuming. If you are unable to go, no contact. The rule is low contact, or what they term gray rock. This is going to confuse the narcissist a little bit. They don't understand why you're not responding anymore. They're going to push back a little too. Like I said, I was getting text after text after text. I thought, this is ridiculous over really dumb things. And I used to just do it. I mean, I was just programmed to, if somebody said that there was an issue, a problem, or something that needed to be done, that was my job. That's what I was supposed to do. And they'll use that against you. But when you stop responding to them, you're going to see that they become uncomfortable in the way that you have changed things up on them too. I'm also one of those that says that you need to pay attention to social media. Not 100% of the time, but remember, you are in court. You are in a battle. This is a battle that they brought to you, and it's up to you to finish it for you and for the kids. Lay real low, go gray rock, go low contact, and use some of what I've discussed earlier about how to handle the situation in the future. So anyway, I hope that helps. It's good to see y'all again. I know I wrote that thing for y'all, and I've totally forgot it again. But anyway, it's basically good vibes for everyone, or as some people term it, meta for you. I want freedom from suffering for everyone that comes to this channel. Those of you that have been emailing me, I do appreciate it. I hope that that's also a help. If you'll have something that you want to talk about, feel free to go and email, and or feel free to put it down in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to discuss it. So, with that being said, I hope y'all are having a beautiful day, and I'm going to sign off. Thanks again.